Mhm. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Let's Talk Turkey here on a Sunday night. This was rescheduled from yesterday night. Normally, I try to do Let's Talk Turkey on Saturday. But I'm glad to be here anyway, and I'm glad you're here. Um, Try to adjust this a little bit. Um, I'm running a little bit late and I need to fix something on the title really quick. It's gonna bug me. I didn't change it. I have the wrong date on there. Okay, so 3/8. Same changes. It won't let me do that. Okay, well, I will fix that after the stream. Oh, it fixed it. I think it fixed it. Anyway, welcome in, guys. I'm just warning you guys, I am probably not going to go very long tonight, but hopefully I will get everything talked about that I want to talk about. And I'm running late because dinner was delayed due to a power outage. Our power went out. Several people in the neighborhood in the local area actually lost power in the neighborhood a little bit after 6, and so power was out for about an hour ish, and then it came back, and then so that's why I'm late starting, but I'm glad you all are here. Let me say hello to people in the chat as I get started. Dave Stragan, hello, welcome in. Tina McNeil, hello, your poor heel. And hello to Chuck as well. I know Chuck hasn't been well um, for a couple of weeks, or wasn't well a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, hello to Chuck. John Corndog, hello, welcome in. Gloria Thibodeau, hello, welcome in. I Heart Disney, Robin, hello, welcome in. Um, Scrolling down. Angie, welcome in. Hello, Angie C. Do 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 do. Da, 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 da. So, if you're watching this on the replay, and if you're watching this live also, don't forget to bop that like button. I'd mucho apreciado that. Um, so, yeah. The last week when I talked to you guys, I was getting over like a flu thing. I was pretty much all over that last week when I talked to you. So earlier this week, my eyes decided, hey, we need to give Dean a hard time. So I'm actually dealing with like eye allergy stuff, junk. Um, so that's another reason I might not be going too long tonight. Don't worry, I can see chat pretty well. I may need to pause um, in a little bit to kind of clean my eyes out. I will mute and I'll turn the camera off just for a moment. So just so I want to note on that, if I need to do that, if I say excuse me and that my camera turns off, that's what's happening. Um, but I will try to make it through the entire stream without having to do that. Um, so unfortunately, with the flu and the eyes, I haven't gotten down to Disney. to do any streaming. There's 2 full weeks that I have not had any days where I've been up to doing the drive down and doing a stream. I've got next week, um, this coming week, and then I've got the following week, which I'm blocked out of my pass, and then the last week of March is the last week on my pass. I'm really hoping I get back down to Disney to visit the Flower and Garden Festival. So I'm kind of axing my Hollywood studios, just to, I'm not going to try to get back to Hollywood studios. Um, I was I would have tried to get back there to stream Hollywood studios, um, but because my body's being special, I feel like when I clear up, I'm going to want to spend um, at least a day or two at Epcot, and so I really don't need to see the other parks. Um, but that's how it stands right now. Oh, you like it, Robin? Yeah, I have not shaved. Last weekend I shaved this down here and I left the mustache. I'm not sure if I want to keep it. I have done this before. I've gone through the mustache phase where I grow the mustache out. Um, the good news is it's like the mustache will grow out in a few weeks, at least to noticeable, decent size or length. Um, but yeah, I'm glad you like it. I kind of like the mustache look. I don't like the sensation of something being there, on my upper lip section there. I don't like that sensation once it grows out, but I like how I look. So that's the issue I have with the mustache. But glad you like it. So let me go ahead, let me move ahead and let me talk about what this stream is for tonight. What the subject of the stream tonight is, and it's a bittersweet um, topic. That's one reason I don't have my turkey leg ears on, because it's a little bit more of a serious um, subject matter. And if you saw the thumbnail, you see the subtitle of the stream called "In Loving Memory." Um, if you follow me on social media, um, you saw that I shared earlier this week that my grandma passed away um, on Wednesday, and so she was 92, and she lived a good life. This is my dad's mom, and my dad, of course, passed 4 years ago. Um, and my grandpa passed way back in 2003. And so it's kind of like that my dad's side is, losing people, saying goodbye to people. Um, and I don't want to say prepared. I was kind of mentally, I guess prepared, but not, begrudgingly prepared to say goodbye. And my grandma's health had declined over the last couple of months. and it was her time, and I do miss her. Debbie Diaz, hello, welcome in. Um, so I just wanted to talk through just some things I remember about my grandma, and then kind of acknowledge everyone um, that I have said goodbye to, and kind of offer some brief memories and highlights and thoughts about them as well. Um, as I'm just thinking about people that I've said goodbye to over the years. So we'll start with my grandma. So my grandma, my dad's mom. Um, um, I wasn't as close to her as I always wanted to be. We were separated by miles. Me living down here in Florida, she was up in Massachusetts. We did see, her every few years. Um, but they were brief visits. They were never, longer than maybe a week or a few days or something. But my love for her wasn't any less. I just would have been great. It was really hard. If you are separated by distance, you know that it's really hard to um, have any kind of a relationship and be close to people. It's possible, but it's really hard. And I have a lot of relatives that I'm separated by distance that I always wanted to, I hoped um, that I would, be able to, get to know and be a little closer to. Um, but she was always happy to, hear my voice. For a lot of years, I would write Christmas cards. There were a few years where I did that. Um, Tina says, didn't you go visit? I did. I did go 2 years ago for her 90th birthday. I did make it up. I went with my mom to visit her and celebrate her 90th birthday. In fact, that's the picture that I shared on Instagram was her with her 90th birthday cake, and that was a fun time. And I did make it up there for that. That was a really good trip because I visited family. We drove by the house that I grew up in, or that I lived in for my first 3 years before we um, moved down here. We saw that house. As far as I know, it looked like mostly how it was. I was 3 when we moved down here, so I didn't really remember, um, what it looked like. But we saw that. We went to my other grandma's, my mom's mother, her 2 houses that she lived in Rhode Island. We drove past those 2 houses. That was a real blast from the past, especially the first one, the one in if you know Rhode Island, in Cumberland, her house there we drove by, and that going down that road and going by that house that was a real blast from that past. But anyway, that was a really good trip. It was a really good trip. Um, we visited both cemeteries where my grandpas um, are buried, and so it was good to see those. those cemeteries, and so I now know where they are. And now that my other grandma, my mom's mom, passed last year around this time as well, um, and so um, it was a good trip, especially prior to my grandmother's passings. Just kind of have a mental visual of where they're buried, because I know what the headstones look like. Because they're going to be buried with my grandfathers and their respective grandfathers. Well, okay, my other grandma is already buried, I should say. But anyway, I hope you know what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm just thinking back on like all the visits that we had up to Massachusetts to see, um, my grandparents when I was really little, and then my grandma when after he passed, after my grandpa passed, and then my one bittersweet memory that involves both my grandpa and my grandma is um, they were able to come down to see my high school graduation. This was in 2003 in May, and that was the last time I saw my grandpa. Um, in September is when he passed, and we went up there to um, for his services. And now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it up for my grandma's services. I think some of my siblings are going to try to go for that, but just with me not being, you know, health health issues and the traveling. Um, so, but one thing I'm going to do this week, I think I was thinking about earlier, is I'm going to be going through pictures, I think, of through the years that we have, and I know we have quite a few pictures um, of my grandma and visiting us from over the years, and um, so I'm going to be doing that this week, going through and looking at pictures. Okay, I told you guys I would need to do this. Bear with me. I'm going to be right back. I got to clean out my eyes. Okay, much better. My eyes were just really getting gunky. Um, so that said, anyway, where was I? my grandma. So you see, Angie said it's hard to explain. Um, the feeling we have when our last grandparent passes, it definitely leaves a hole in our hearts. Yes, absolutely. I was going through pictures yesterday and came up past across one of my grandma who passed 30 years ago. It was the first time. Yeah, it doesn't get any easier. Here for the comments. Hello, loving memory. My grandmother passed earlier this week, and so this is a just kind of a cumulative memories of and acknowledgments of everyone that I've lost in my life that I've said goodbye to. Um, Amy DeBoard, welcome in. Welcome, hello. Thank you. So yeah, like I was saying, I am going to look through pictures. I'm going to look through, um, all the pictures of my grandma, and of course, some of those will be um, include my grandpa as well. Um, and so, um, so yeah. Um, so just to go down the list and kind of acknowledge other people that I want to just kind of memorialize and talk about a little bit. Richard, Disney Magic and Mayhem, hello. Welcome in, Richard. Um, so along with my grandma, of course, my grandpa, I mentioned, my dad's dad passed back in 2003. And of course, I remember him. I actually did not know my other grandfather, my mom's dad. He passed, unfortunately, he passed before I was born. And so I only grew up knowing him through pictures, um, and, some things here and there that I, heard about him. And there was one um, cassette tape which was transferred courtesy of my uncle to, of course, now we're talking about my, I guess I'm shifting on to, I should shift back to my other grandpa. So my other grandpa, my dad's dad, we'll go back to him. Of course, he was the only grandfather that I knew, um, growing up. And we had a handful of visits back north to Massachusetts to visit. I could visit him at, in their house. And I remember there was one trip when I was younger. We were there for Christmas, and there were just things about their house that I remember that, of course, they haven't lived in for years. I remember they had an organ at one end of their living room. They had a TV at the other end. They had no, the organ was next to the TV in the corner. Um, they had a brick fireplace. Dave's Disney Dreams. Hi, welcome in. Thank you so much. Um, they had, couches, their stairs. That was the other thing. We did not have an upstairs. We have not had, two-story homes um, here in Florida. And so going north was so exciting, if for no other reason than seeing our grandparents visiting their upstairs, their home with an upstairs. Um, and so I remember that. But I remember, their kitchen, my grandparents' kitchen. They had a dining room next to there, and then their backyard. When I was really little, they had a black lab I remember by the name of Brenna. Um, Jason Thibodeau, welcome in. Um, and so Brenna, unfortunately, was passed away. Um, years and years ago. Um, the other memory also that I have fainter memories because I didn't, meet her a lot, but I guess it would have been my dad's grandmother. So a great great grandmother lived with my grandparents, and I remember seeing her um, when we visited there a couple of times, and and yeah, so good memories, good memories about my grandparents and their house. And anyway, we can move on to my other grandparents. Of course, as I mentioned, my mom's dad, I never met, but my grandma, my mom's mom, had a house, and I remember that house. And that's the one that I mentioned a few minutes ago that we saw a couple years ago. We drove by. Didn't go in it, of course, because other people own it now, so that was kind of be awkward. Um, um, so, but I remember that it's in kind of a wooded area, and I remember the garage, the carport thing goes under, and then she had upstairs as well. So whenever we went to see her, it was, yay, we're going to grandma's house. She's got an upstairs, and I remember her kitchen. She had her living room. She had a piano that I remember playing. I think we may even have a picture of me playing it. Um, um, but her dining room, her basement, which was another exciting thing about up north houses. Not just the upstairs, which we didn't haven't had in our houses, but the basement, which we don't have in Florida. Um, so that was always fun to go visit. In both of my grandparents' um, houses. Um, so I remember her house, and then she moved to another house from Cumberland over to um, I'm drawing a blank on where it is. It's not in Providence, but it is really close to the Providence airport. You can actually see the airplanes, coming in and out, and it's only like a 5-minute drive when she needed to fly out. So that was really convenient. Warwick, she lived in Warwick. If you know um, um, Rhode Island, she lived in Warwick. And I honestly, when we visited a couple years ago, um, I am pretty sure either leaving or coming, coming or going. I'm pretty sure that I saw her old house um, when we were coming in for a landing or leaving. I'm pretty sure I looked out the window of the plane and saw her house. Um, that was kind of neat. But anyway, and then to 2014, um, my grandma, my mom's mom, moved down to down here and lived. actually in their room over there, um, and lived with us for a few years. And then she went into a memory care facility for, I want to say she was there for 4 or 5 years before she passed last year. And so the memory care facility where she was at was just right up the road. It was like a 5 minute or less drive, just a few miles. And I went to see her regularly with my mom during the years that she was there. And really good place. They took really good care of her and her the fellow residents in there. They did a really good job taking care of her, and and so those are my grandparents, and of course my dad. Um, my dad passed away 4 years ago. That was unexpected, of course. It's always unexpected to a degree, but this was like super unexpected. Um, he, you know, he had retired. He had retired from his job at Lockheed Martin just the a few months prior to him passing away, which was really tough because it didn't seem, still doesn't really seem fair, and something that I'm honestly a little pissed about. Ticked off. I'm ticked off about. I'll use that term. Ticked off about the fact that he really didn't enjoy, you know, a lengthy retirement. He retired in August. He passed in February, the next February. He was able, along with my mom, to go travel west and visit the Grand Canyon, which was always a dream of his, and that was kind of the big trip that they took to celebrate his retirement. Um, so he did get that done. He did do get to do that. But I just, and still, even still living here in the house with my mom, and where my dad is. My dad was really into woodworking, and so I see the things that he did around. I see things around the house that he's made from wood. He was also very handy. Things that he's done. I mean, he did one of the bathrooms. He the showers and everything. He pretty much completely remodeled. The other bathroom over here, he had some help, but still he was involved in the process. Um, and so seeing those is kind of a big memory. He assisted me with my automobile work. I never did, and I still don't know much about cars beyond driving, and I can manage to put the gas in, and I know how to check the fluids, the oil and the coolant and the air tires. I can do that. The simple things I can do. But don't ask me about belts and compressors and whatever, because I don't know. And then there's the but my dad helped me with all that, and I was really spoiled slash blessed that all I had to do was get the car part, and then he helped me with the work. Help me meaning he did the work and I watched. And I would go get the wrench. You need the whatever size wrench and the screwdriver and whatever else I need to do. Um, But yeah, lots of memories of him in that context, but also just him, growing up. I was homeschooled, and one of seven kids. So the house was really just never boring, to be honest. Um, and yeah, Tina. Yeah, but he was really good with the cars and stuff. And I don't know. Um, he did pretty good with the cars. But anyway, the as far as like the in the family, he was, I unfortunately I never got as, close to my dad as I would have liked. We were okay. We were decent. I would say we were decent, but not great as far as our relationship. We weren't like super close. There was a I'm maybe a little more artistic, not artistic because he was artistic with his woodworking, but with my more of my arts, with the YouTube and everything, how I am personality wise, kind of more artistic in that way. Um, but there was he was just had a great presence, and because he was so smart, um, and we were very spoiled once again. Guess he could fix almost anything. Um, and so yeah, um, and it was and is still quite the earthquake, emotionally, mentally, um, having had said goodbye to him, um, and he got sick in early January, and he went downhill pretty quickly with pneumonia, and it it he was in the hospital about a month, and then he was gone, and gone from us. But I'm looking forward to seeing him again someday. So that's the comfort. Being a family of faith, um, of course, we have that hope of heaven, and but yeah, that's another thing too. I'm gonna see pictures um, of my dad also. My dad, probably all the folks, and that I've said goodbye. So there's my grandparents, there's my dad, there's of course there's great grandparents that have passed away. That was really hard. Some friends as well, really good friends. After actually, I do need to come back to the family. I have lost two aunts over the past handful of years that have passed away due to um, poor health reasons, and so I miss them. I miss them greatly. One of the aunts I was pretty close to for and then she passed, and then one aunt that she lived in Hawaii. Um And I did see her, you know, a few times throughout the years. And I always wanted the opportunity to kind of, you know, visit with her one on one a little more than I always did. She had one interest that she had, one thing that she was into that I kind of shared the interest in years ago was being an author. She had done writing, and I always wanted to kind of, have a conversation with her about the writing, and that unfortunately never came about. Um, but yeah, I do miss her. Um, then there's friends. I'll just go through. There's the lady that excuse me. I've talked about her on the channel, but there was a lady I used to work with at Wendy's. I used to work at Wendy's, and her name was Juanita. She went by Nita as kind of the nickname, but she was kind of an unofficial, um, you know, honorary grandmother. But she was a good friend, as well as a coworker. And she worked at Wendy's. She would come in for the lunch period, and um, she would take care of the dining room. She would go around to the tables. She would, wipe them off. She'd go around with the broom and, clean off everything. She would keep the condiment stand, filled. She would greet the customers. Um, and then if she was all caught up, out in the dining room, she would come back and maybe help behind the counter to maybe serve some drinks. This is back when um, we had the drink thing, the drinks fountain right on the counter, and we had to make their drinks right there. Um, so she would come back, she would help whoever the order takers is make whatever they needed, medium diet coke, large root beer, small Sprite, whatever. She would help in that way. And then she would, do that for a few minutes. She even came over to the drive-through every once in a while and she would, help hand out a couple of orders, which was really awesome. That's where I usually was the drive-through. But everyone loved Nita. And she she could get a little feisty too. She had a parking spot that it was her parking spot, and everyone knew, except for me apparently, not to park in her parking spot. Because I did it one day. I did it one day. It was totally unintentional, and I parked my car. It was the kind of the last parking spot against the fence over there on the side of the Wendy's, and I parked there. So she got there. I got there before she did that one day, and she walked in and she was like, "Who parked in my spot? Who parked in my parking spot?" Uh, and I'm like, "Oh, where's your spot?" And she said right there, and I said, "Oh, that's my car." I kind of feel like we had a good relationship. It was kind of my curse and a blessing that I got along with everybody. Um, because you watch. I've got a personality, heck of a personality. I'm such a darn sweetheart. And so I apologized. I asked her, "Do you want me to move it?" And she said, "No, you don't have to move it." But I never parked in her spot again. I would always actually, I would pull in, I would park in the next spot, And I would totally leave that spot open. And then as it turned out, we there was a whole period of time where we were actually arriving to work around the same time. So, I would pull into the spot. She would be still in her car, kind of sitting there, after you pull in, you just kind of maybe sit for a minute. I would pull in, I'd wave to her, we'd wave and then we'd walk in together. So, that was fun. But yeah, you didn't want to get on her bad side. She would really funny. I'll move on to my next special person in a minute, but she would get on like construction workers, people, guys coming in, workers that had like dirty hands and everything, touching her glass on her doors that she just wiped down. Um, and she would get on their case, and then she would get on there with them coming in with their boots, clunking in dirt. And she actually, this is a true story. She actually made on several occasions, she would make these grown men. She was small in stature, okay, and she was like in her early 80s when she worked at Wendy's. She would make these grown men coming in from construction with her boots. She would make them go outside the door and stomp their feet off before they came back in, and she would make sure they don't touch the glass because I just wiped it down. And so she did not have it. She was not having it. And so everyone loved her, of course. And then, when she passed, of course, it was just, it was really heart-wrenching. And, she would, during her last couple of years, when she was having some other, health issues when she wasn't at work, customers would ask, where is Nita? And, they, wanted Nita and they missed her. And it was really kind of like visiting grandma's dining room because she would, if you were sitting there eating, she'd come around, she'd say hello, she'd say hello, she would ask, do you need anything? If you need more ketchup, you need just a few extra napkins, you drop a straw, she'd go get it, she'd go get refills. She would, go grab the refills for you if you're out of your your Dr. Pepper or whatever. Um, and so it was just a great dining room to eat lunch in. Um, so give me another second, guys. My eyes are wacky doodle again. So give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, what happened? Oh, shoot. Now I can see better. Is Wacky Doodle an official? Yes, it is, Dave. It is. I made it up, so it's a word. But yeah, thank you for your patience, guys. My eyes just it's the allergies or whatever's going on. Um, so anyway, that's Nita to continue the list. And then and I guess there's just a couple more people. One gentleman that we knew from actually the last two gentlemen, we both knew them from churches that we attended um, when I was younger, and we just stayed in touch. And the one gentleman by the name of his name was Bill Menzie, and he was an elderly gentleman, and he passed. Oh, I don't remember really when he passed. It was in the 20 teens. I'm not sure exactly when. He was 91, I want to say, when he passed. But he was I thought of him. He was a dear family friend, and I thought of him as an unofficial grandfather. And he was also very handy. He would help. He would talk, and he would help my dad with his projects. And he would come to over to the house for dinner regularly, even breakfast. On the weekends, on Saturdays specifically, he'd come over and he'd stop in, and we had him for birthday parties, for oops, sorry, for family events. Um, but he was just a really good family friend, and he was really glad to get to know him over the years, and he he um he just kept going. He was driving and pretty functional, and really with it um, pretty much to the end, almost, um, as much as I can remember. Um, but he was a wealth of information, of stories. He served in the military, years ago. He was always talking about, places he'd been, things he'd done. He was quite the guy. And yeah. Lyle, welcome in. Hello. Great to have you in. So yeah, that was Mr. Bill, as we would call him, or Mr. Menzie, Mr. Bill. Uh, yeah, definitely do miss him. The other gentleman that I want to just acknowledge on the stream is but his name was Bruce, and he was when we went to church with him. He was he also had stories. He was always talking about things, but not just stories. He was um he grew up in Norway, and he was had been a professor for many years. And when we knew him, he was had retired. But he was like always studying and reading things. So he was very smart. And he was always, talking. He was a talker, and he would always talk you know, about things, whether it be politics or, philosophical or sciency or whatever. He was just very smart, very learned, and the conversations and the things, it was just always fascinating to have a conversation with him. And he was, I mentioned he went to our church, um, and he was a very godly man. So in the spiritual sense, also, he was just always had great, deep thoughts, deep, you know, um, words of insight into, biblical things and spiritual things. And so, and yeah, and then so he was just a great individual to get to know. And there's pretty much everyone that you come across that you say goodbye to is one of a kind, but definitely he was one of a kind. And everyone I've mentioned, of course, tonight, one of a kind. And I miss everyone, but I cherish the years and the moments that I had with them and the memories. And so anyway, um, and I know that all of you, just without talking about it, just out of respect, seeing all the names and other people that I know in that in our YouTube community that I know have lost people in their lives. I know it's hard. Um, um, it's never gets easier. I think um, I used to think that, it did, but it really doesn't. And I think probably when I lost my grandpa back in 2003, he was the first, you know, of my close family. Um, he was the kind of the closest first person that I lost, that I really felt that, sting of sadness, of losing someone. Um, and so anyway, that's gonna do it. I am almost at an hour. Wow, I thought I would only get like 20, 25 minutes. Um, but I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the stream, guys. Thank you so much for popping in. Thank you for hopefully I was not boring or depressing. Hopefully I even while remembering and talking and honoring these individuals in my life that I have said goodbye to. Hopefully, I have not just been depressing. I think it's good to honor and talk about, the good memories that we have um, with the people that we've lost, that we've loved. And, next week, I'll have a little bit more of a lighthearted conversation. Pending, I have not gotten sick anymore. Do keep me in your prayers that my eyes will clear up, that I can get down to Disney, hopefully, maybe by the later part of this week, hopefully, and do some streaming. Um, I definitely hope that I can do that. I will try to be live Saturday, if not, and hopefully I can um, put together that stream. It is going to require just a little bit of preparation. So hopefully I can keep my wits about me this week to prepare for that. Let's talk turkey next week. The rest of my streams, guys, by Rooster Mode Activated, I definitely want to bring that back to Monday mornings. Um, that will not be this week. It might be next in a week, Monday. Just depends on how fast I recover. Um, you know, Lyle said I have lost four very close people in my life: my mom, my dad, my wife, and my best friend. Yeah, I I actually, when I was thinking about this stream, I was thinking about Lyle. I know that you um lost your wife. Um, and I was just thinking about that, losing people that you're close to. Um, I'd have to say the very closest person that I've lost, the most impactful person that I have lost is my dad. But my grandparents also and my friends, they're also very impactful, very um, close. So prayers for you, Lyle. Prayers for everyone. Um, I know that it's not easy. It's not easy. And it's involuntary, isn't it? Losing people. It's something that we don't get to pick and choose. Death does not care. Um, does it? But that's why you hold on to the people that you have while you have them. You make memories. You do your darndest to um, do life big, both for your with for yourself and for more importantly for the people that you have in your life. And when I say do life big, I mean make the most of every moment. Um, and yeah, so amen. I'm going to highlight this. Lyle said, I found the best way to deal with the loss of someone is to give it up to God. He's the only one that can give you peace and tranquility. Absolutely. Um, so, um, with that, I'm going to go ahead and head out for the night. Thank you all for bearing with me, cleaning out my eyes all night. I'm going to go rest them overnight. Hopefully, you guys are doing okay with this time change. That is another thing that we have to deal with. Um, um, if I had been live last night, of course, I would have been more of a PSA reminder, but hopefully, you guys don't have too much trouble getting used to the time change. I think fall is easier when you gain the hour. Um, spring is when you lose the hour is not so easy. Uh, I mean, I'll be honest, I like having it lighter later, but the shift it always takes some time to deal with. And, I hope they do away with it. I just hope whatever they have to do, whatever they have to do, I just hope they get rid of it. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Have a great Gobbletastic week. I'll be on next Saturday um, with Let's Talk Turkey at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if I get better by the end of the week. I'm going to do my darndest to be at Disney and give you a stream. Um, it'll be Epcot. Um, Definitely will be Epcot to check out the Flower and Garden Festival, and I hope I am able to do that. Um, so yeah, pray I get better because my pass is almost out, and I definitely want to get there a couple more times, get down to Disney a couple more times before I have to stop before my pass expires. So you all take care. Have a great evening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.